Okay.
Okay,
Okay, so
let's rush it.
yes. So Anastasia was part of my book, Casting, a beautiful photo that we made under the rain almost.
Oh yes.
Yes. I think it's the only one in the book that have that kind of weather, and was exactly a year ago.
Yeah, pretty
Yeah.
much so.
Was exactly a year ago. Was monsoon season, same as now, and I will make it anyway. So
Yeah, it was a very, very beautiful, gorgeous day that we decided, wow, the weather is absolutely brilliant, finally. And we were here on this exact rooftop. And 10 minutes after we're here with all the equipment, all the photography equipment, all of my wardrobe and everything, and we're ready to shoot, we look to the horizon and it's all black.
yeah.
Monsoon season in Bangkok.
Yeah, we decided to do it anyway and came out as a very beautiful photo.
It's way more dramatic than we would think it would be.
It's more dramatic than many others. It's true. Yes. It was exactly a year ago. So, what do you want to ask me about my book?
Let's see. So it's one question, but it's two. First of all, what gave you an idea of shooting this in particular? Because in your line of work as a photographer, fashion and commercial photographer, you're doing so many different topics, you're covering so many things, and you're not only working with models per se, but you're working with products, brands, with, I don't know, you shoot for architecture, whatever. Why? So first of all, why models and why people in general? And you could do somebody who's, I don't know, professional actors or maybe people behind the brands. Why thought about models? And second part, why here in Thailand? Why in Bangkok?
Wow, that's a lot of questions. I like it. That's good. So, yes, this book comes directly from the profession. I used to shoot models, as you know, and I worked with lots of model agencies for several years, and I always felt that there was like a huge gap between how they actually look like and the comp card, which are the printed photos that the models show to the clients and the model agency show to the clients in order to get hired, with the actual reality, with the actual how the model looked like. So there was,
can
was
I
a huge
insert
gap.
something? Sometimes, especially if you're out of your native region, let's put it like that, people at the casting would be like, okay, so which one of you, Catherine, Anna, and whoever the third one is? Because to some of the clients, the concards that they got look pretty much almost the same, or they cannot tell which of the models is who. And I've seen that as a model zillions of times.
So let's say that when you are a model, you're being selected like cattle. Like basically they don't know you, they don't know your name, they just say, hey you, come, like this. And how it makes you feel that?
Happens often is just perks of the job, I would say. The only way how you can deal with it is to have a proper big ego, and you really don't care about what other people are, doing or saying.
But let's say that you are one of those who, by yourself, you have a very strong personality, which is probably built up, also because of the profession, but
it's more of my background
is
of
your more background,
childhood in Russia, in Moscow in the 90s. It's a
tough.
tough neighborhood.
Sure, it sounds very tough. Yes, I never been there, but I guess
Russia and
it's
Italy has a lot in common. Just imagine a tough neighborhood, and it's like, let's say, post something. Like it wasn't per se post-war; it was more like post breakdown of a country. So, yeah, something so. Lots of mafia. Very Italian.
Very Italian. Very Italian. There's always a lot of mafia involved, and
we don't talk about that.
No.
It doesn't exist. It's something you see in Hollywood.
Secret of the profession, and
So for me personally, I think it's just the way I grew up, maybe, and the place I grew up at. But I guess you have to have some kind of like balls and ego to be there and to not be offended by whatever is happening around.
Because there's lots of offensive things happening.
Yeah, well, I'm not even sure where to begin with, but basically it's a very objectifying profession, and you have to know it if you're getting in it. Secondly, say if you ever get to see the remarks of the casting director team that they're writing about the models they've seen as like too big, too tall, too short, too blonde, too whatever, she's too ugly, she's too pretty, she's too commercial, she has this look like next door girl, we need someone who stands out more, she stands out too much, we need somebody who's like relatable, girl next door. And it's always like that.
And they say it in your face.
Not necessarily, but if you're attentive enough, you're gonna notice it. They don't like. It depends on how polite people are. Just like blurt it in their face, or just write it down, or say to each other, and it's up to you whether you heard it or whether you speak their language or not. It depends. It really depends on situation, people, their cultural background, the country, and stuff like that.
How long it lasts a casting? Because lots of people are watching these videos. They don't have any idea what the casting look like.
Ooh, from
But you're a
5 minutes
professional.
to hours and hours and hours. Like, for example, you might have a room full of people, like 300 models. There's one designer.
Okay.
He looks around. He's like, this, and those 5 stay, and the rest of you leave. And you've been there like waiting for 2 hours for just this dude to come in and have a look at you. And you might even have been carefully pre-selected, or maybe not. Or you're there, let's say hopefully carefully pre-selected, there is still maybe 20 people or 100 of people or even more that are at this casting on those days or just one day. If you're not very lucky, or depending on like which region you are and which is your like cultural, ethnical background, etc., maybe you walk in and you see another half of 100 of people of your same age, race, and gender that look exactly like you, and maybe, just maybe, if you're not self-aware or like confident enough, you feel like all of them look almost exactly identical to you, but slightly better. Like, that person is taller, that person is 3 years younger, that person just has something about, I don't know, like maybe she's even like dressed better, or like you forgot your high heels, she has her high heels with her, and stuff like that. So
It's
you
super
might
competitive,
find yourself in a room full of people that, if you're not confident enough, look as a better version of yourself.
Wow.
And maybe you're gonna spend the next 7 hours there waiting in line, and they're
7
gonna
hours.
maybe 3, maybe
that's
1,
that's
maybe half an hour, maybe like a whole day.
That's psychological torture.
It
Incredible.
depends on how you look at things.
Well,
I'm enjoying it. I'm in a
you are stronger than most.
I'm just like, wow, I'm in a room full of people. They're all fabulous from all around the globe. Each of them has their stories, their background. They can tell you things. It's fun. You're like, oh, hi, so you spent like 2 years in China. How was it? It depends on how you treat life.
No, it's true. I actually enjoy casting. That's why the book is called Casting. And I like casting. I just find that there are lots of standards and lots of people that work in the industry that don't know anything about what real beauty looks like. They base their judgment over the Photoshop of the comp cards, and they pretty much they want to, sell a face to the clients, which also don't understand anything. It's their job, but there's a lot of responsibility involved, So there are kids that grow up seeing magazines, now there is Instagram, of course, looking at faces. So you have a responsibility in terms, they will always believe that that thing is beautiful because you say so.
Yes.
So you have an immense responsibility. It's not only a job, it's a little bit more than that. So what I wanted to do, and I think many people now are trying to do the same, is like elevate the job a little bit. So be a casting director that's a lot of responsibility. First, for the model, you say you are too short, you are too fat, you are too slim. That's a terrible thing to say to a person that is actually going there and trying to sell the superficiality of what she born with. It's terrible, because I just show up. Why you have to say you want no blue eyes? Maybe they fight. Oh, I told you that I want black eyes. This one is green eyes in front of you. You know, you are not speaking about an object. You are speaking about a person.
Well, one of the people, well, like, it happens more than once, but one of the people I know was at the casting when she was like in her very early 20s, like maybe 21, 22, and when she didn't have anyone to leave her kid with, she would have like her very young daughter with her, and they would be like, she cannot be here, like she has a kid, you know, like we need like really young women. You can have, if you want to, a kid at like 16 and still be a very young woman.
Yeah, absolutely. And wait. Okay. Let me see if we are recording. Yeah. Okay. So we were saying.
So we were saying that there is lots of people who are gonna show in your face like, why are you even here?
Ah, that's bad. I don't know how I feel about it. I remember that in Singapore there is this crazy thing in commercial photography that for a very simple shooting they call 300, 500 models, which is incredible and useless completely. You just waste a lot of time. And you see, of course, the most incredible things, because if you have narrowed down exactly what you want, you don't really need to ask to 500 people to come, to show, to take the photos, and to be basically humiliated by
videos.
Yes.
You just, like select at least 50, 20, the ones that
which are already a lot actually. And I also don't like those that show up with a face and they show you the photos, which is not their fault, but that don't look like them at all. Like that you really see the photo and you say like, I'm sure it's you.
Which one of those is
exactly.
you?
That happened to me so many times.
Happens all the time.
All the time. So there's a lot of Photoshop, a lots of colors. It's not only the skin, but they modify everything.
Photoshop plus makeup plus styling, and it's a very fashion thing to do, to be honest.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe I don't like that. Maybe
See,
I don't like
fashion photographer who
fake.
doesn't really like fashion.
Yes. Yes. No. Well, the classic fashion. Maybe it's true. Like
you like style.
I like style. I like the character. I like the character that the person come with, like naturally. I like you. I don't want you to be something that is not you. I don't want you to be an actor. I don't want you to be. I freak out about acting. If I have to say it like in real life, like people that seems to have someone else inside. I hate that.
It's fun.
No, it probably very nice, but it really scares me. And I like the person, how is it in real life, and I want to try to make a photograph, so to freeze a moment that reminds you how the character smells like, how is it, It's not easy. I had to take 12,000 shots for this book, which have 70 photos. So when I saw it, I was like, fuck, 12,000 shots really was like over a year and a half. This project was long. And then we narrowed down around like 50 to 70 shots that really represent what I wanted to, which is not only like the character of the person, which was already a goal to achieve, but also my ideas and my influences. That I think there is something allowed, like Japanese cartoons I'm born with, or and a lots of photographers that I like inside my photos. But of course, but that's what I like. The people who really like take the person as a mannequin, like the focus is the clothes. I like the photos, but I would never do that like for me. And
it's about the character, psychology.
Yeah, but even like hands,
people really are.
Or it's not only about the face. Whatever you represent, you can do it in a very fake way, which is fine in some extent. But
yes, I love it. It's fun.
You are doing. you're good in doing that sometimes. Yes, you're very theatrical, and I like that. But I like those photos that we took, which are more yourself
natural.
than yes.
I would say it's a ground zero kind of thing. It's like there is a lot of things you can build on that, but
Ground zero photography is not a bad name.
no, it's something where from you build the rest of your personality for the camera, for a project, and from wherever. It's a very rare thing to show where from you build it. Because there is a person under all of those layers of makeup, hairstyling, clothes, facial expressions, moods, etc., etc., and like the background and like the work of the entire team that is usually there for like, say, like a huge project for a huge brand. And when it's just you and the camera, and it's completely different process. It's about catching the psychology, capturing the facial features that are not distorted by anything, just the light.
No, it's more like, I come from painting, so people, I don't have a background as a pure photographer, and so
I love your paintings, by the way.
I like them.
They're kind of, I don't know, they're very bright and expressive and
Actually very bright,
I
and
would
lots
say,
of
like,
colors.
That's interesting. They have some kind of like almost Soviet style thing, like almost something like a milder version of like propaganda thing, but it's like more artistical and more subtle.
It's true.
But the style is like you could see it on a wall in in the middle of Soviet Union somehow.
It's true. It's true. Very Soviet. I never thought about it, but it's true. Yeah, like propaganda posters.
But
yeah,
there's
I like propaganda posters.
But they're stylish.
A lot. And coming from that, like drawing and stuff, you don't really see like the person as a mannequin. It would be impossible. So it's more like selling the concept and to selling, let's call it the posture, the pose, but it's not a pose. It must be a very natural pose. And it's all about that. So the pose, it gives you a detail of expression that reminds you a concept, and the concept is what it counts. But I guess a standard, photo shooting will just represent the beauty, which it doesn't even exist. What's beauty? It's very hard to define.
Yeah,
so,
it's very personal. It's like, I think that flower is beautiful. I think that flower is more beautiful. And how do we agree on that?
Maybe I don't even like flowers at all. For example, I like plants. I don't like flowers.
Yeah.
I don't know why exactly, but I would never buy a flower. But I love plants, and I like leaves.
So like that leaf is beautiful, and that flower
Absolutely.
is like,
I don't even see the
has
flowers.
nothing to do with beauty.
You don't see it, but here it's full of flowers and plants.
So that's more or less the reason why you're shooting what you're shooting. You're interested more in the first layer of the persona who's behind all those fashion representations, right? It's somebody who stands behind it, but who's still like in front of the camera. So why here, why in Bangkok? Because you work in Italy, you work in China, you work pretty much worldwide.
Yes, in Asia, pretty much everywhere. And well, because here in Bangkok, I tried to shoot this somewhere else. I couldn't. So that's why I come back. I was working in Singapore, and then I actually resigned from the studio where I was working with, and then I came back here to finish this book, because here there are people that I never saw in my life, and it's curious because I shot many models for this book, but when we narrow down those 70 shots, are all people like you that live here for a very long time, just by coincidence. But maybe it's not a coincidence, because our people who stay here a long time, they have that kind of attitude, that kind of freedom, let's say, they have fun, and the others, like the ones that come, stay 2 months and then go, we shot the photos, are nice photos, but they were not selected at all. So those photos are true Bangkok residents.
Non-commercial ones.
Absolutely. Yeah, we have actresses and dancers, and mostly models of different kind, but are all people from different nationalities. I don't know how many nationalities we have in the book, but I think
that's
many.
interesting.
Many have more than 2 or 3 nationalities.
Yeah, I'm like mixed Russian and Polish.
Ah, I didn't know that you were Polish too.
Yeah, my grandmother is from Poland. It's like my mom is born in Moscow, and so am I. I understand Polish language. I don't really speak it.
I didn't know that.
Pretty much, I don't. I just don't really speak it. I understand.
That's cool. I have good Polish friends, and
so yeah, mixed background.
there's a lot of mixed backgrounds, which are new people. I don't know about Polish, but we have people who are like from the mom from Brazil, the father from China, and those are completely new people.
Yeah.
30 years ago didn't
That's
exist people like that. So half of the book are a new race, completely people that 50 years ago they're very hard to find, and now are a reality. So people who may be born in Paris, but have the mom from the, I don't know, some part of Brazil, I don't know where, and the father is from Spain, and the grandmother is Chinese.
Yeah.
But they speak French as first language, and maybe no other languages, which is kind of funny.
It's fascinating.
That's incredible. So because our people, they are completely new, and they have to deal with many things, how they look like, the soul that they have, which is could be French or Italian or Chinese.
I'd say where you were born and raised through your, I don't know, let's say 10, 15 years of your life is really influencing on who you associate with culturally. Unless you, I don't know, like you really study a lot on your backgrounds, it's more of like who
How
you
Russian are you from 1 to 10?
3. But I've been reading a lot since I'm 4 years old, and it's mostly been European literature.
Oh.
When I was so the school I went to, we had some kind of entry-level exams to study there. I was 6, and they asked me who my favorite author and my favorite book was. I was like, oh, it's Homer, Odyssey.
Which was unusual, of course, for
They were
Russia.
like, it's like, yeah, normally you would say something else, I guess.
Yeah. They weren't expecting to say something Russian or
No,
whatever.
they asked me then like about one of the classical Russian poets and writers who's internationally known, Pushkin. And he actually wrote a lot of fairy tales in poems. And they were like, did you read anything from Pushkin? I'm like, yeah, and I'm speaking of, well, something that is also like not children books at all. And they're like, did you read anything of his that is like a fairy tale? Like, yeah, let me just think.
How old you were?
6.
At 6 years old, in Russia they ask if you have read Pushkin or not.
But like he has like 6 or 7, I might be wrong, fairy tales in like
No, I remember.
in verses,
but are
in
kind
like
of
a poem.
Okay.
So
wow.
depends on which school.
It depends on which school, I guess. Wow, that's a good school.
Yeah. So it's like my cultural background, even then, was really debtors.
How old you were when you start modeling and then you move out of Russia?
I started modeling pretty much when I was 16, so like the end of high school, and it was one of my numerous hobbies. So like, 1 out of 10, and it was like that percentage of my time that I dedicated to it. And yeah, actually I started doing it full time when I was already out of Russia, and that was after I graduated from the university, so 23 years up.
And where you went then?
I was in Spain, and then I was in Thailand.
Oh, in Spain.
It was like pretty much in between, but my main base was in Canary Islands, in Tenerife. But most things are happening in Barcelona and Madrid.
Yeah, sure. And then in Thailand, when?
It's more than 7 years now.
Oh yeah,
it's like it's my
more
whole,
than me, right?
my whole recent whole life in here.
You are one of the first people I met here.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was like 5 years ago, and you were already here, so
yeah,
so it's a little bit more than
yeah,
me.
you are, I think, straight out of China.
No. I came back in Italy for a while, for like a year, and then I got a job for come here, and then I came here. I never even like crossed my mind to come to Thailand before because it was too hot in my my knowledge. Like, but it was okay actually. It's a very beautiful place, and yeah, I think it's very nice because I can.